Hi there, this is John Moakler of Moakler Wealth Management. And for the best advice on how to protect you and your family, subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell notifications to be notified when we launch a new video. We're going to continue on with our interview series, other than the roles are going to be reversed today. So Rick Goldring will be interviewing me on my transition from the high-tech industry into financial planning some 18 years ago. Followed up with some of my thoughts on why I'm not a big fan of mutual funds for my high net worth clients. And finally, we'll talk a little bit about the transitions and the changes we needed to make and adapt in supporting our clients through financial planning given COVID-19. So I hope you enjoy this interview.
Okay, so I'm glad to have the opportunity to ask John some questions about how he got started in the business. John, you've had a great career in the financial sector, but you weren't always in the financial sector. You were in the information technology sector for the first part of your career. Can you give us some insights about that and how you transitioned into financial planning?
Well, thanks, Rick. That's a great question. So I did have a degree in math and computer science from Waterloo. And so that, and I also have a business minor from Wilfrid Laurier. So I worked in the high-tech industry. I worked for hardware companies, software companies, services companies. And then I left what I call corporate Canada. And I started doing a startup software company in an incubator at Young and Eglinton. So we were one of 12 startup companies, but the odds are 1 in 8 survive. And we happened to be one of those 8. So we actually built out a company. We had an initial financing, I think, of 1.2 million US. And we went around for a round of financing and we got 11 million US in financing. So the company started in 2000. We got our run of financing in 2001. And then we built it out. And basically, we were the autopilot for the data center. That was the software product that we had. And we ended up selling the company to IBM in 2003 for just over 76 million US. So that allowed me to kind of step back and say, okay, what's my next challenge? Because I obviously was successful. I could continue doing that. But there was a lot of pressure too. And you could be fired at any moment. And so I didn't want to have somebody else being in control of my life. I had 3 young kids and a wife at the time. And so I decided, okay, I want to have my own business. And so I stepped back and said, okay, I'm not getting the great financial planning advice from my financial planner. But as I started to interview, I said, this could be a great opportunity for me to transition because I'm used to building plans. I'm used to being a process-oriented guy. And it was just a natural fit for me.
Now, you initially started with a major Canadian company, a mutual fund company, and you were there for a period of time. And then you transitioned away from that company. What made you make that move and to start your own business?
Well, it was a natural fit. In fact, I started in 2004, and right away they had over 5,000 consultants at this organization. And after the first year, I made it into the top 150. And then after that, I was in the top 100 and then the top 50. And so I had a lot of success there. And I built a practice of over 80 million in assets under management. And I had over 300 families that I was servicing. But in 2009, I decided to go back to school. So I was still in the industry, but I took my CFP, or my Certified Financial Planners designation, and my CLU, Chartered Life Underwriters designation. I actually learned more from the CLU than the CFP, because the CLU is working with business owners and complex tax situations. And that allowed me to really get a better understanding of, and that's when I started working with doctors and dentists and business owners. And then after that journey, though, as I started to reflect upon my career, and there's a whole guidance upon the CFP and the CLU in terms of how you should be serving your clients. And I realized I had a lot of conflicts of interest. And so it really started to bother me because I could only recommend the mutual funds from this one mutual fund company. So even though there might be a better solution across the street, I wasn't allowed to recommend it. And that started to bother me. And then they only had one insurance platform. So there's so many insurance companies out there, but I was limited to just one. And so really, it was my clients who came to me and said, we really like what you're doing from a financial planning perspective, but we don't like buying mutual funds. Is there any way you could possibly leave and start your own company and we'll come along for the ride? And that's essentially what happened.
Wonderful. And then in 2016, you wrote a book, and you're a best-selling author as a result of a book that you had published and wrote. What prompted you to write that particular book?
Well, it was quite interesting because I started working with doctors, as I said, in 2009. One of my first doctor clients I worked with was Dr. Ralph Foreman. And Ralph was a pediatrician in Mississauga. He lived in Toronto. And I retired him in 2013. And he just walked away from his practice. And that kind of bothered me that doctors weren't able to sell their practice. And so I was doing all these dinner seminars. And what I did was I took the framework of my dinner seminars and I turned it into a book. And then I went to Ralph Foreman, my first doctor client, and said, "Hey, Ralph, would you like to write the foreword for my book?" And so that was in the summer of 2015. And so he read it and then he came back to me and said, "Oh my God, John, I should have listened to you more." Because Ralph never incorporated his practice, and most doctors are incorporated. And so he was paying a lot of money in taxes every year. And now he's frustrated because now he's in his 70s and he's having to take all this RIF income, even though he's still working part-time. And so the book highlights areas where doctors can really, take advantage of their corporation and move out. And so the key difference here, and I had to fight with my book publisher, because they wanted me to write a book for doctors and dentists at the same time. And I said, no, doctors and dentists are totally different, because, close to 100% of dentists in Canada are able to sell their practice. And you've got to design a plan knowing that they're going to be selling the business. Whereas it's flipped around. It's like 99% of doctors do not get to sell their practice. So like Ralph, he just, retired and his clients went somewhere else and he was not able to sell his business. And so that's really highlights in the book how to plan for that and how to take advantage of that.
Now, COVID-19 has been a challenge to all of us. Middle of March 2020 to here we are taping this video in July of 2021. It's been quite the ordeal that all of society has been through. How have you adapted with regard to running your business as a result of COVID-19?
Well, like you, I have other financial planners in other provinces that I've coached. And so they continued to bring in some financial plans that we worked on jointly together. And you and I still had some dinner seminars we were working on from the fall of 2019. And from February, we were lucky we did some seminars just before COVID hit. So we had a few in the file, but in the funnel, but we couldn't go back to dinner seminars. So we had to reevaluate. And so I went back and I hired a social media coach. And so the person is handling all of my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then I hired another coach out of the United States to help me understand, okay, Google's the number one search engine in the world. The number two is YouTube. People spend a lot of time on YouTube learning. And so I hired him to help me understand how to start to do YouTube videos and the educational aspect of giving back to the community. But it wasn't connecting. There was a piece missing. And so I went and December of last year, I hired a coach from the UK, Andy. And Andy's been able to help me understand how to put together all of that knowledge into a very short webinar that people would like to watch. And so what I'm currently doing is I have an advertising company in Toronto advertising and getting people to watch the webinar that we run a couple of times per week. And so they're able to see client case studies. There's no product. I'm not a person who pushes product in anything. It's all about case studies and the value that financial planning brings to people.
Wonderful. I've certainly learned a lot working with you, John. And the one thing many things I like about you, including your willingness and desire to always be looking to improve and how you provide service to your clients. And I think we both have that in common. We both want to get better in what we're doing. We're never going to be relaxing. We're going to keep working and keep working to get better so we can serve people better than we have in the past. So it's been great working with you thus far. I look forward to working with you for a number of years to come.
Well, thank you very much for interviewing me today. It's been a real treat. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Hey there, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that interview and that you got some insights into the background and my commitment to financial planning for my clients. And so if you're interested in developing your own bulletproof financial and retirement plan, click on one of the links below to apply to become my client. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching. And always remember, when we develop financial plans for our clients, we always make sure that their money outlives them in retirement.